Hey friends, I'm Brie. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm here to do my May reading wrap up. So I ended up reading 20 books in the month of May. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. In April, I aimed to read a book a day and I was successful with that. That was a lot of fun. And then May came and I was like, you know what, we're just gonna take our time. I had books that I was really excited for and that I just really wanted to savor and kind of take my time with reading. So I'm really happy with the way that the month turned out. If you're new here, thank you for being here. When I do my wrap ups, I like to just go through the books really quickly. I try throughout the month to do reading vlogs and currently reading videos. I know I've been slacking on those a little bit, but things have been crazy and I have just not really been in the mood to film with everything that's been going on. I'm like determined to do better. But everything that I talk about will be listed down below. If there's anything that catches your eye and you want to chat about, definitely hit me up in the comments. I also have my Goodreads and my Instagram listed down in the description box as well. I try to write like a mini review on my Goodreads and I'm pretty active on my Instagram. If I'm reading something, I try to keep you guys updated on there as well. So that's another avenue. If you want to reach out to me, you definitely can. I would love to hear from you guys. But let's get into the books. So starting off, I did read 4 novellas in the month of May. So the first one that I read was Professor Maxwell by LONI Reed. This is a quick novella between Tori and Reed. I ended up rating it a 4 out of 5 stars. Sugar by C.M. STEELE, which is book 1 in the Gimme series, and I rated this one a 3 out of 5 stars. Both of these have the alpha male innocent heroine trope in them, and I don't mind it, but I am kind of tired of seeing it. I tend to neglect Kindle Unlimited, so I turn to novellas quite a bit. I love novellas. I really love them. I just love that they're quick reads, and there are some romance authors that kill novellas. Regardless of the length, they still leave me feeling satisfied in the end. That is just a certain trope that I feel like is really overdone in the Kindle Unlimited romance novella world. I don't mind it, but I'm ready to see people come a little bit harder with it, you know, or just try something different. Those were okay. And then I read Remembering a Witch by CONNOLLY. I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This is another novella. It was somewhere between like 60 and 80 pages, but I loved it. So it follows Fenella and this guy Graham, and Fenella has always known that she comes from a long line of seers, and as she gets older, she is continuously having these visions of a romance between an ancestor of hers, this woman named Marbella, and her love interest from back in the day named Henry. Marbella gets word that there are some witch hunters coming into their town, and so she basically ends things with Henry. Fenella is her ancestor Marbella reincarnated, and one day she's out walking her dog and her dog gets loose, and the gentleman that he runs up to is the reincarnation of Henry, this guy Graham. And this is their relationship and them trying to figure out like why she's having these visions. It was so good. I'm a sucker for reincarnation stories in romances. I really loved it. And then the last novella that I read was Press for Wine by Christina C. Jones, which I rated 3 out of 5 stars. I really feel like Christina C. Jones is such a wonderful writer. This novella was only like 23 pages, but even in that 23 pages, she just really had me rooting for these two people to end up back together. It is a second chance romance. I really enjoyed it. And then I read 6 issues of Giant Days. So this is a graphic novel series that I've been working on for a very long time. I was reading it once upon a time when I had my first iPad, and then I got rid of the iPad, and so I went like a year or 2 without reading anything, and now I have my new iPad, and I found that they're all available on Scribd, and I did not know Scribd had graphic novels, but I'm obsessed with it. Like, I just have so much access to all these graphic novels that I want to read, and I really love how graphic novels depict girlhood. Like, I have not picked up a series yet that I was disappointed in, and this one definitely does not disappoint. It follows 3 girls in college, and they just find themselves in these different shenanigans. The point in the series that I'm at now, so it follows Esther, Susan, and Daisy, and Susan has had this on-again, off-again relationship with her beau McGraw, and they're thinking of maybe moving in together. And then Daisy and her girlfriend has spent a lot of time in the girl's apartment, and it's not that Susan and Esther don't like her, it's just like we've already been roommates for so long, we know how like each other operates, what each other likes, and having that extra person in there and that person be a love interest of one of our friends, just navigating their relationship. And Daisy's girlfriend is kind of putting her in the situation where it's like you're gonna have to choose between our relationship and your friendship with them. So I'm excited to see where the series is gonna go from here. So yeah, I read issues 26 through 32. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So then I read Hot Winter Nights by Jill Shalvis. This is part of her Heartbreaker Bay series. This follows Molly and Lucas. I do think that all of the books in this series can definitely be read as standalones, but specifically with Molly's story, I do think you should read the book prior to this one because it's her brother's romance, and you get a lot of her backstory in his books. Molly had an accident when she was a teenager that has left her like walking with a limp, and you get a lot of the situation from her brother's perspective in his book, but I just loved her as a character. She's super headstrong, and I love Lucas. Like, he she is pretty much on her brother's side at first. Like, okay, she walks with a limp, like she can only do so much. But the more and more that they spend time together, it's definitely like close proximity. They're working together. I love that aspect to it. And the more that they spend time together, he's like, this is a really strong woman. And it's really him that like stands up to her brother and it's like, dude, you need to chill out. She's really strong. She can really handle herself. I loved it so much. I'm on the last book now. I just finished Playing for Keeps, which was the next book. All I have now is Wrapped Up in You, and it's the last book in the series. I'm so sad. It's been so much fun, but I really loved this one. Then I read The Bookish Life of Nina Hill by Abby Waxman. I rated this one a 4 out of 5 stars. This is one that was super hyped up. It's really cute. It's definitely a book for book lovers. This follows Nina Hill. She works in a bookstore and she's like chilling at work one day, like living her life, and then this guy walks in and he's like, hey, I have news for you. Your father died and yeah, you need to come to his will meeting. And Nina was always raised by her single mom. She never knew her father. The story goes from there and she pretty much learns like right under her nose in the city that she's lived in all of her life, she has a ton of family. Friends editing me, I forgot to mention that I also read The Virgin and the Rogue by Sophie Jordan. It feels like I read this book so long ago, but it was in May. And this was another 5-star read. So I actually had 3 5-star reads in May. This is an historical romance that follows Charlotte in Kingston. It is part of a series, but I have not read the previous books. I absolutely feel like it can be read as a standalone. Charlotte suffers from terrible periods and her sister is a training physician's assistant. So her sister always mixes her these tonics to take when her menstrual cycle comes. And she changed the ingredients a bit in the previous one that she made her, and it is actually a love potion. And she has this really hot, heavy night with this guy, Kingston. It continues from there. She continues to think that like this tonic is like having an effect on her. And then she learns that in fact, no, it is not. It just really serves as kind of this mirror for both Charlotte and Kingston for them to both see what it is they want. Charlotte is betrothed to another guy and she really starts to learn like they know nothing about each other. They're not in love with one another. And it's just, it was so good, you guys. It was so good. I really loved this. So yeah, 5 stars from me. I really loved it. And then my first 5-star read of the month of May was Almost Just Friends by Jill Shalvis. I loved this so much. It's the perfect balance of women's fiction and romance. It follows Piper, and at the very beginning of the book, she turns 30 and she's out with her coworkers. They're celebrating her birthday and she's like over in the corner writing in her bullet journal. She's very much like a list person, has to stay on top of things. She had to grow up really early. Her parents passed away, which made her pretty much taking care of her sister, and her brother. She has the plan of selling the lake house that they inherited from their grandparents, splitting the money, and her using her portion to go to school to become a physician's assistant. And so she has her life planned out, and then her brother and sister come home. They both have secrets, and then she meets Camden and she starts falling in love. And it's just really this wonderful story about what do I do now that I don't have to be X, Y, and Z for other people, now that I don't have to fulfill these roles. And like now that as she starts to kind of put those barriers down and start living a little, she falls in love. Then I read The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren, which I rated this a 3 out of 5 stars. I went into this one with such high hopes. I was really, really hoping that I would be in the minority on this one and that I'd read it and I'd really love it. And unfortunately, I fell into the category that everyone else is in. I just did not like it. It was a downer of a book. I do feel like the writing was fantastic. Structurally, it's a really wonderful book. I think if you go into this book wanting more of a women's fiction type story rather than going into it with the expectations of like it's going to be a Christina Lauren romantic comedy, if you go into it with your expectations a little bit different, you might be blown away by this book because the writing is fantastic. It follows Carrie and James, and they are the assistants to Melissa and Rusty, who are this big like HGTV type couple. I feel like the Melissa and Rusty story was written so strongly that Carrie and James's romance never really had a chance to shine through. Like I did not care. Then I read The Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez, which I rated a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I've listened to a couple of podcasts that Abby Jimenez has been on, and I learned that she wrote this one before The Friend Zone, but The Friend Zone came out first. So if you read The Friend Zone and you fell into like that category of like it was okay, but there were things about it that definitely you did not like, because I know a lot of people had some issues with The Friend Zone, I say definitely give this one a try. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It's Salone's romance in the friend zone. Salone definitely, she's like, her situation is so heartbreaking. You want her to have her own happily ever after, and she gets it in this book. It was so good. My second 5-star read was The Trouble with Hating You by Sajni Patel. This follows Leah and Jay, and Leah is this successful biochemical engineer living in Houston, Texas, and she goes over to her parents' house one day for dinner, and in walks this guy Jay and his mother, and they are under the assumption that Leah set this dinner up and that she is potentially wanting to meet and marry Jay, and Leah had no idea that this dinner was taking place. So once she figures out out what's going on. She bolts it out of there. She goes to work the next day. She is like, she just got this promotion. She's super happy, but the company is struggling, and in walks Jay, and he is this lawyer that the company has hired to help fix things, hopefully. It's not really enemies to lovers or hate to lovers, but he's just really like under the assumption that like what she did was disrespectful. How are you going to invite us over to meet your parents and you and then bolt, not knowing that like she had no idea either? That eventually gets cleared up, and it's just so good, you guys. Trigger warning for sexual assault, sexual abuse. That storyline is definitely heavy in this one. The relationship between Leah and her father just like broke my heart, but it just really shows you how important, so important that faith is to some people, that they are willing to sacrifice some of the most important relationships in their life. While that broke my heart, like the romance between Jay and Leah was so amazing. He's one of my favorite heroes that I've read, like of all time. I love this, you guys. I highly recommend it. I listened to it on Libro FM. I followed along with it. I will leave my Libro FM code down below. You guys have to check it out. Support a independent bookstore, especially with what's going on. I'm supporting the Book People in Austin, Texas. I love them. They're my favorite bookstore of all time, but this is definitely a book that I feel like you should follow along. It was such a good time. Then I read Cowboy Come Home by Carly Bloom. I love this. This is part of her Once Upon a Time in Texas series, and it is a second chance romance between Claire and Ford. I had the opportunity of moderating a chat between Carly Bloom, Farrah Oshan, and Sajni Patel on behalf of the Book People, and it was such a good time, and she's such a gem. She's so sweet. And I feel like cowboy romances catch a lot of book snobbery, even in the romance community. And I just want to say that they are simply contemporary romances set in small towns that follow people that work on a ranch. Like, they're no different from a lot of the other romances that we're reading. It's just the setting that is different. And I feel like this one is a good time, especially a lot of the cowboy romance authors are like OGs with some of the best humor that I've ever read. Then I read The Bookshop on the Corner by Jenny Colgan. I rated this a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm still holding out hope that I will find a Jenny Colgan that I enjoy. This is only my second by her, but both times, man, like I get like halfway through and I'm like, I just don't care anymore. But she's an author that like I read the synopsis to her books and I'm like, I should love this book. So still gonna continue trying to find, like, make my way through her bibliography, and I hope that I find something that I love. But unfortunately, I just was not a fan of this one. And then I read In Other Words Love by Shirley Jump. This is a Hallmark romance. I rated this one a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a second chance romance between two college sweethearts. The heroine is a ghostwriter and the hero is this big CEO, and he wants a book written, but he's too busy to write the book on his own. And so he like does his thing, and his agent finds a ghostwriter and ends up being his college sweetheart who he broke up with. And I should have loved this book. It had all the makings of a book that I would love. It's also really short. It's less than 200 pages, but I just could not get into it. I don't know what it was. I just did not feel that connection. I wasn't really invested in the story. And then I read Wrong Bed, Right Brother by Rebecca Brooks, which I rated a 4 out of 5 stars. At first, I was rolling my eyes. I did not feel like I was going to love this one. It follows Amanda and Noah, and they hate each other, but Amanda has always had a thing for Noah's twin brother, Luke. And so they're all on this like weekend getaway staying in this cabin, and Luke and Noah decide to switch rooms for the night, and Amanda has gotten the courage to go give Luke a goodnight kiss. So she goes into the room, making out. It's like getting hot and heavy, and then she moans Luke's name, and his like the guy stops, and she's like, what is going on? And that's when like he turns the lights on, and it's like, oh snap, like you're Noah. All of a sudden it's like, oh wow, like I really enjoyed it. Maybe he's not that bad. And it's like, okay, because y'all made out, like now you're having these thoughts, and you've been like, she's always been like flirting with Luke. She's really had this thing with Luke. And then as the story progresses, that we learn that like she had this really bad relationship, and she just flirted with Luke because it was safe. She knew it wasn't going to go anywhere, kind of thing. So once I kind of figured that out, I was like, okay, it's not so bad. And I ended up really enjoying it. I do say the only reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars is just because once Luke finds out about Noah and Amanda, he's just like really dramatic, and I felt like it was unnecessary. Like, dude, you know this girl's been flirting with you and you've been going along with it. Like, you could have shut it down a long time ago, and now you want to feel some type of way. You want to feel left out pretty much because she's hanging out with your brother. Like, I just felt like that could have been handled totally different. But overall, it was still a really good book, and it should be coming out very soon. So those are the books that I read in the month of May, you guys. Let me know what your favorite read of May was. I would love to hear, and I will be back with another video very soon. I am going to be participating in the 20 Books of Summer challenge, and it started June 1st, so I'm a couple of days late. So I will see y'all in another video very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.